This is Kyle Cherry. I'm Peter Bloomer, and we welcome you to Team Thrive by Prevail Online Coaching.
We want to help you build the strength, conditioning, mobility, and nutritional and stress management habits to not just survive, but thrive. All right, we're going to talk about nutrition today, specifically planning, shopping, and prepping to make your nutrition consistent. Right, and this is a huge piece of the pie here. Even if you know conceptually what you need to do, if the framework is not in place for how to do it, it's not going to go very well. So, Peter, how many times did we run into each other at Costco when we were during our overlap in Santa Barbara?
Oh man, we probably go 3 times a month.
Okay,
and I would say at least every 5 to 6 times I went there, I ran into you guys.
And that's pretty crazy because we were only once a month. So that, I think for us, that sounds about right. Like every other month we were running into you. I think we were both on a weekend morning Costco schedule. So if you were there most weekends, and so our weekend would tend to line up with your weekend. So we were both in our routine. The routine didn't change. So it was almost a given. I would almost expect to see Peter when I went to Costco, which is odd.
And I'd always check by the sardine aisle just in case, or if they were on sale, we'd always text each other, "Hey, FYI, get them while you can."
Yeah. Or I would just know because I'd get scared by Eli or Selah if he went behind me.
Yes.
Yeah, that they got me a couple times pretty good when I wasn't expecting it. Then I knew to be on the lookout after that. Yeah. So getting into today's objectives, you're going to discuss the power of planning ahead and then create a system that works for you, right? That's the main thing. So that eating healthy actually creates more time and energy for the rest of your life. Because this is a big thing. Whenever you're changing habits, there's an initial time cost, that initial barrier to get over. But once you create the system, now it actually frees up time. And it'd actually be harder to not eat the way you do. And so if you can build the system that supports the way you want to eat, we can automate that and shift energy towards other things.
Yeah, and generally when you start something new, there's a lot more friction. And then as you do that consistently, all of a sudden that friction drops dramatically. And now it just becomes easy, just becomes a part of your life, just like Costco. That's like, when are we going to go, here or here? Like, it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. And just pop it on the schedule and away we go. So it's pretty sinking easy.
I had a Santa Barbara client who, I remember she would make fun of me because I had my yogurt every morning. So you're not going to have to do that yogurt every morning when you have kids. I'm like, it would literally be harder for me to figure out what else to have.
Yes.
I think I would be even double down harder on this at this point,
Make it almost subconscious, where it's like, this is what I do. My body almost goes, I want yogurt right now. Yeah.
There we go. So let's get over that hump again, where the right habits are the easier ones. So because, a good segue into the next slide here, we will always pick actions that are obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. This is the framework from James Clear's Atomic Habits. I think I just quoted it on the last one we did as well.
Yep.
So the key is, we want to make habits that serve us in the long term align with this framework, because we no longer live in the world that we evolved in as a species, right? Unhealthy habits can kind of get us stuck in this loop of kind of seeking short-term reward. So how can we make the healthier habits align with this structure, right? And one key principle is that busy people don't need more willpower. All the time we hear, I just need to be more motivated. I just got to try a little harder. And it's usually not the case. You got a lot going on your plate, right? This framework from the previous slide will always win out, right? So what you don't need is more willpower. You need fewer decisions. You need to automate things so that you're not, stuck in every moment between a good decision and bad decision, having to pick the right one and will yourself to the right one.
And it just takes so much brain power when you're stuck in that kind of negative loop there. And it's so hard. And at the end of the day, you're just like, I'm so exhausted. I just don't care anymore. What can we automate these things that are important? And then some stuff, it's like, maybe now's not the time, maybe later is. But how do we make this, like I said, simpler and easier so it takes less and less?
Agreed. Okay. So how can you set yourself up for success? 3-step approach. We're going to plan ahead. We're going to go shopping. And we're going to prep to save yourself time, right? A lot of people think, I don't have time for a big prepping routine. If you do it right, it's actually saving you time. So let's dig into that. Step 1, plan ahead. Step 1, write out your current typical week of eating. And it's like, there's no typical week. Well, that's part of the problem. But even write down as best as you can. Even if lunch is just, I eat out, and that's the only thing typical about it. That's okay. Write that down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just build out what is the typical framework of what you currently do. Then write out your ideal week. We'll talk a little bit more about what that ideal week should include to give you help here in a second. Okay, but write out your ideal week. And the key thing here is that we're not going to overhaul all at once. We're just laying a roadmap. Yeah, there's no way your success rate will stick long term if you just try to jump from current to ideal. Okay. So in this talk today, we're going to give you a lot of info, and the goal is not that you right away absorb all this perfectly and put it all to use right away. But hey, we're just going to lay out the groundwork of what we maybe would do over the course of 3, 6, 12 months, and probably more on the longer end. Right. So with that, let's get into our 3 non-negotiable nutrition concepts. We're not going to dive deep into these today. We've done that on other pods, but just kind of a reminder: sufficient protein, prioritizing whole foods, and appropriate total intake. These are the concepts that we want to see hit in your ideal week, right? The ideal week can look different for everybody, but these concepts will be there. Okay. So as you plan your ideal week, let's talk about protein first. Okay. Have a palms target is one thing that we love for people. How many palms of protein are you trying to get to? Have enough 25-gram palms of protein to get at least 2/3 of your body weight in grams per day. So a palm of meat is going to be about 25 grams. That's where that kind of visual comes from. Anything else that is about 25 grams count as a palm. So like a cup of Greek yogurt, cup of cottage cheese, 4 eggs. Peter's favorite sardine tins are about 20. So anything in that 20 to 30 range, just keep it easy for
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah,
Count it as a palm. Doesn't have to be precisely exact and perfect. So if you're 150 pounds, hey, can I get at least 4 palms? That'll get me to 100 grams, and that's just my major protein sources. Not counting. Oh, I got 2 grams from my chia seeds and 3 grams from these cashews I had. Just those are, get your big rocks to get you to 2/3 of the way there. Yeah. So how do I fit that now into a day? Okay, let me map out breakfast. Am I having a cup of Greek yogurt? Am I having 4 eggs? Am I having a protein shake? Most scoops of protein powder tend to be about 25 grams or so as well. For lunch, am I having dinner leftovers or meal prep, or is there protein thrown into a salad? And then for dinner, is there a rotation of recipes that work for me that get me my 1 or 2 palms that I need? So if you're looking to get 6 palms, maybe you're putting 2 palms in all of these meals, or maybe it's you could also use a snack to help you out. Maybe it's 1 palm at breakfast, 1 palm in a snack, and 2 palms at lunch and dinner. If you just need 3 palms and 1 per meal, how am I going to get my palm target in my day? And specifically, what are the sources I'm going to use to get there? Or at the very least, have a small rotation that, hey, I'm going to have 2 palms of something at dinner. Maybe it rotates between chicken and turkey and salmon and beef, but I'm going to get 2 palms at dinner. So that's kind of the first piece of your ideal week. Put that down first. Then let's put some color around that protein. Okay, so let's get some fruits and veggies in there. Can you get 5, fists or handfuls in a day there? So around breakfast, okay, say I'm having I chose Greek yogurt. Okay, let me get a handful of berries in that yogurt. Okay, with lunch, I'm getting 2 palms of protein. Let me throw that protein into a salad so I can get a fist of greens, and maybe I have an apple on the side for another fruit serving there. And then at dinner, maybe I have my 2 palms of protein. Maybe it rotates there, and I have some sort of starch, and then I have 2 fists of veggies. And now I've got 5 in a day: 1 at breakfast, 2 at lunch, 2 at dinner. Okay, boom. That's the nuts and bolts of my routine right there. Right. We could go into the next step about appropriate total intake, but the reason we put these 2 things first is because when you get sufficient protein and fruits and veggies and colorful whole food in your diet, the total intake almost naturally takes care of itself to a point. You can get more in the weeds if you need to, but starting here does so much for you.
no, and just yeah, and like Kyle said earlier, like we're not trying to do this all at once. This is one baby step at a time. Hey, let's just go after breakfast because I find I have orange juice and a piece of toast. I'm missing a couple of these things. What can I maybe add one thing, and then maybe after that becomes habit, I add something else. But I mean, I'm just thinking of so many Januaries and New Year's when people are like, oh, I'm going to do this and this. They map it all out. And, again, January 14th comes and they might not be doing one of those things that they started with, So these things got to be sustainable and allow us to do it day in and day out. And then one more step and then one more step.
Think like a cross country drive. All you're doing right now is saying, hey, I'm currently in California. I'm trying to drive to New York, right? I'm setting my destination, but we're not going to snap your fingers and teleport, right? You're going to slowly work your way there. So all you're doing is writing out the ideal week, the ideal day. Okay. So now pick one action that moves you closer. So again, looking at your current, looking at your ideal, like Peter said, hey, maybe my current is just orange juice and toast. Okay. Well, let me get Greek yogurt into that breakfast. That moves me closer to my ideal week. That's my first action, is getting a palm of protein at breakfast. I'm not even going to address lunch and dinner yet. Okay. So now that you have that, let's go shopping. Okay. So make your list, right? Let's get the protein sources you need for the week ahead. And again, if you're starting out, that might only be one new protein source. You might not be overhauling everything yet, but I'm going to get my protein sources. I'm going to get my fruit and veggie sources, and I'm going to get whatever else I need, right? So again, early on, you might only be making one tweak to that list. Then, try to automate it. Okay. Can you keep this list maybe in your notes? Normally I'm all about getting things on hard copy and out of electronic copy, but if you want to make this simpler for yourself, can this be a checklist in my notes app that I check off when I buy, but then I uncheck off so that it's there for me for next week? So I don't have to start from scratch again. And then that way it's easy to revise whenever you're ready to make a new action, which we will talk about here in a second. Yeah. And then other piece about shopping, shop smart. While you are adding these new things to your list, pay attention to your shopping habits. This is a great, decisive moment in your week, because if something is around you, you will eventually eat it, right? So, hey, whatever you put in that shopping cart is probably eventually going to go into your body, right? So can you shop smart while you're there?
And something that's kind of fun when I'm putting the stuff from the cart onto the whatever you call that thing, the conveyor belt. It's like, what, even kind of just subconsciously, what's my why? What's my why? And sometimes you're like, oh, I don't know if this is actually something that it fits my identity, my why on that. Maybe I'll put it back, or just ask that person, hey, at the front desk, could you put that back for me? But I think that's just helpful, and so that you're not oblivious to what you're doing. Because, like I said, if you pay for it and it goes to your house, it's gone.
Yep. There we go. There we go. Don't feel bad about asking people to take things back at the grocery store too. I used to work at a grocery store. It's how they learn the store. People always ask me, where's the Worcestershire sauce? Like, I have no idea. I'm like, no, I've never taken that back. I have no idea where that is. I'm sorry. So you're helping them learn the store. Think of it that way.
That's very kind of you.
So you've planned ahead, you've shopped, and then now prep. How can you save yourself time? So for breakfast, hey, can you have an option that maybe has no cooking required? Like the Greek yogurt bowl. I just got to scoop some yogurt out, throw some berries in, I'm done. Is there a preparation Sunday routine you could do? Hey, can I put all these yogurts in mason jars so that they're ready for me all week? I used to always bring mason jars of yogurt to the gym, or overnight oats with some protein powder in there. And that's how I get my Palma protein. And I make those all on Sunday. So how can you automate that? Lunch also could have a Sunday prep ritual. Or maybe, hey, I never actually make lunch because whenever I make dinner, I make enough for leftovers. So like lunch is always taken care of by the previous night's dinner. That can be a way to automate lunch. If you're working on a dinner habit, maybe you're thinking ahead, what nights can I cook? Hey, this night we're going to be getting home late from soccer practice on Tuesday. Thursday, we have an event at 7, so there'll be a little squeeze there. Okay, maybe Monday and Wednesday we cook, and those nights we make enough for 2 dinners worth at the same time. It's totally okay to do the same thing 2 nights in a row. It's going to be totally fine, right? So can we make this easier for ourselves so we're not having to, we have to go through the fast food drive-thru because that's the only option we have left? Can we plan ahead?
Yeah, as I say, at our house right now on Monday nights with our kids' schedule, my wife, it takes them and brings them home. And so I'm home first, and I'm supposed to have everything prepared and ready. I am a fuel guy, not a taste guy. And so my wife, we're always on Sunday, hey, what do you want tomorrow night? What can I make? What should we do that now, or do you want it fresh there? Just to make it as easy as possible for me, because it can be almost like a stressor. It takes me forever, where my wife could do it in 10 minutes, and it takes me 30 minutes, and it's still not as good. Yeah. So just finding what works for you guys and just having those systems in place, can't say enough about that.
One of my nutrition clients right now has many kids in the home with all their various schedules and extracurriculars. So like quarterly, it's kind of like, okay, what season are we getting into? Let's map out the entire week. Okay. And now we can cook on Sunday, Wednesday, and then they had a daughter going into high school. Okay, she can actually cook on Thursday. She's like ready for some
Nice.
contributions.
Nice.
Okay, so those are 3. We're going to start with those 3 nights. Cook at home. Okay, that's the plan. Kind of planning ahead, figuring that out. They had a crock pot Monday was one ritual that they instilled. So just hey, plan ahead, and then again prep. Can I plan ahead and then prep to save myself time? Okay. So to keep reiterating this point, quote from Mr. Abe Lincoln here: give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Right. So you can spend your time scattered throughout the week because you think, I don't have any time for any sort of preparation ritual, but I'll just figure it out when I go. If you kind of did a time audit, the cumulative time you probably spent figuring out what to eat, making it, cleaning it up, was probably a whole lot longer than if you did actually carve out an hour on Sunday to do a preparation ritual. Right?
For sure. And if the food's not in the house, can't prepare it. So that's where sometimes, we can't do this. So let's just order this or do that. And then a lot of times you're like, hey, I'm not hitting what I wanted. So, where that shopping list, which helps you for that grocery shopping, now it gives you all those opportunities. And for us too, it's like, I don't want the food to go bad. So we got to do something with this spinach or we're in trouble.
So to give you just a little case study, sometimes we'll use an anonymous, random made up guy named Steve or something like that for a case study. But we're actually going to kind of share, kind of my current plan and not getting into the weeds of the details, but more about just, hey, how this helps provide structure, right? So for me, most mornings, the first thing I'm eating in the day is a cup of Greek yogurt with protein powder. That's like the protein in that meal. Then I throw in a banana banana, some nuts, and then some creatine in there and some raw veggies on the side, right? Next meal is usually I'm coming home to walk the dog, and I'll make a scramble with some eggs, a cup of cottage cheese on top of that scramble. I think that's delicious, by the way. Throw in a bunch of veggies into that and some chopped sweet potato that I just chop up and microwave for 4 minutes with the cover on it. Cooks it good enough for me. Afternoon snack, sardines tin, some more raw veggies, a piece of fruit, some sauerkraut, and 2 palms of protein at dinner, surrounded by kind of whatever else. The dinner is the one thing that rotates, but we'll figure that out on Sunday on our way to the grocery store. We're kind of talking, hey, what do you want to have for dinners this week? Right. So that's the plan. And screenshot that if you want, but the goal is not for you to do that exactly. That's just what works for me. But let's talk about now the shopping list as a result of that. Yeah. So when I'm shopping, it's pretty easy because I know what I'm having. That doesn't change, right? So I kind of know, hey, these are the protein sources I need: Greek yogurt, protein powder, eggs, cottage cheese, sardines. That's my start of the day, and then meat for dinner. So we shop at Costco once a month. I get all that stuff at Costco. I'm stocked up for a long time. If I'm starting to run out of that stuff, well, then I know that with my weekly Trader Joe's trip, I need to replenish that. I need a little more Greek yogurt to hold me over until our next Costco run. But hey, I just need to make sure I have that protein available. On the produce side of things, I'm getting banana and some other fruit for the afternoon snack. That'll vary, but I just make sure that I have fruit in the cart. I have enough raw veggies and veggies for the scramble, and then veggies that align with whatever dinner recipes that we want to make that week. And then a couple other random things: nuts, sauerkraut, creatine. Make sure I have that on hand. And then just whatever we need for that week's dinners, as well as for my wife's lunches, because she likes more variety at lunch if we won't have leftovers. So it's either the dinners are carrying over to her lunches, or maybe we need 1 or 2 other lunch options. So that sounds like a lot. Like, man, that was a lot going on. You have to remember. But the key is I don't, because most of that hasn't changed in a long time. And most of that I could shop for on autopilot while I'm thinking about the NBA, But the only thing that varies is whatever we need for that week's dinners and then my wife's lunches. So going to the grocery store, I might not even have a list anymore, because I might just be thinking, oh, I need these 3 things for the recipes we're making this week. And that's it. Everything else is like autopilot. Walk and just knock it into the cart at a Trader Joe's 10 minutes later.
Yeah, and even when you're at the grocery store itself, you know where stuff is located. Yep. So it even makes that more efficient versus like, what do we want? You're walking down the aisles. What about this? What about that? And next thing you know, it's been an extra 30 minutes that you didn't need to spend there because you failed to plan.
Another unsponsored plug for Trader Joe's, but that's a smaller store, less decision fatigue. There's 1 or 2 of each item. Simple, right? I cannot go into a big store anymore. I need to go to Vons because we need these 2 things that you can't get at Trader Joe's. It takes me longer to find those 2 things than it did to do the entire rest of the groceries.
I know that they're smart. That's a nice business plan. So.
I used to work at Vons. Sorry, Vons. That's the grocery store I referenced earlier. Too big. Too many things in there. And then preparation. Okay, how can we save ourselves time during the week? That yogurt bowl. I usually just make that in the morning now and take it to the gym and have that in between some of my morning clients. I could prep that ahead of time. I have in the past. Currently, I'm not, because it's pretty dang easy, and I don't know. It doesn't take me much time. The scramble. I usually come home for lunch for Stubby anyways. So usually lunch is a meal people do need to prep ahead. I currently don't right now, but I would, if I needed to start taking the lunch on the go, well, I would need to tweak this plan and figure out a different way to do that. And then the sardines, fruit and veggie snack, that also can be done at home if I'm doing more admin work or nutrition coaching in the afternoon. If I am out and about, I can take that on the go. I just make sure that I have mince in the car. So I'm not eating the sardines right before I walk into a meeting where I want to not smell like fish. And then dinner, I cook Monday, Wednesday night. Riley cooks Tuesday, Thursday night. Friday, Saturday is usually out and about. And then Sundays with family most weeks. So as we go to the grocery store on Sundays, we just need to kind of plan 4 nights of dinner is typically what we're doing. Maybe more if we know our Friday, Saturday plans vary. So that's kind of the preparation. So again, the key is did not snap our fingers to get there. I used to just eat. I think in college, the goal was just protein and food. Protein and stuff on plate, and slowly evolve to that, right? So again, goal is not to jump to your ideal week. And I'd say this still isn't my ideal week. There's always things you're trying to learn and evolve with here. But slowly, one habit at a time, kind of work towards that. Yeah.
And you figure out what works for you as you do it more and more and more. Like this list, like a year ago, is very different than it is now. Yep. And if schedules change, great. We just adapt.
Yep. There we go. So to re-summarize for you, plan, right? Write out the current week and the ideal week, and don't overhaul all at once. Pick one new action. What's going to move me closer to the ideal, right? Then shop, okay? Revise the list, execute it, okay? And then prep. Make the new action the most convenient action to take. How can I make that new action subconscious, automated, on autopilot? Okay. And then revisit. Okay. Once that action is subconscious, then work on the next one. Once that current week, whatever your new current week is taking, okay, now this is taking less mental energy. I'm ready for the new habit. I'm ready, willing, and able to add something new. Then I do that and I just repeat this cycle over and over
And
and
it could be
over.
a week, it could be 4 weeks. Like
Yep.
there's no hard timeline
Yep.
here. Feel the resistance. If there's really no resistance and it's again on autopilot, great, you're ready for the next one. And you might find some are super easy, and other ones are like, oh man, I keep running in this roadblock. And I would say if you're successful 90% of the time, great, time to move on.
Yeah.
But let's get some success early and right away before we try to jump to the next thing.
And don't beat yourself up. Everyone has their own pace. It all depends on what else is going on in your life. I have clients who might have the same habit for 3 months because there's a whole lot else going on. Hey, this still the key focus. It still takes a little bit of mental energy. You're not ready for more. That's fine. Keep
Mhm.
killing this one. Other clients, you give them a new habit and they're a week later, like, what's next? I'm ready, I'm bored. That's fine. So kind of just keep yourself in that flow state, whatever that is for you.
Love it. No, so good stuff that again, if you aren't currently doing, get started with that one thing. Let's get the ball rolling. And 6 months from now, you're going to look back and be like, oh man, so many things have changed, but it hardly felt that resistance in that process.
Yeah. Cool. Plan, shop, prep. Keep it rolling.